The New York Giants have dropped another game at home, this time to the Washington Commanders. And at this point in the season, as I've said before, the New York Giants and the tanking season is officially on. The New York Giants cannot afford to win any more games coming up this season. Where do you start here, right? Where do you start with this team? The bad quarterback play, bad run defense, bad coaching, bad drafting, just bad franchise all around. The team is just so ass backwards now that there's really no answers anymore, right? There's just no answers anymore to this franchise. Let me just work on a few things here really quick. But where do you start with this team, right? It's become like another job having to watch this team play football every week and just continue to get so much wrong every single week. 1 week it's penalties, 1 week it's bad coaching, most weeks it's bad quarterback play. We'll just start with the quarterback at this point because that's everybody's favorite topic apparently. Starting with the quarterback again, awful today. Just awful. He threw for 0 yards in the first half. 0 yards in the first half. And not mostly because the Giants they were kind of running the football real well against that Washington run defense. They were kind of getting whatever they wanted on the run, but a lot of that was hampered because of the Daniel Jones's ability to not be able to throw the football consistently. When you have a quarterback that's an actual threat to throw the football on a consistent basis, the teams eventually will adjust. And Washington adjusted very well. Jones, again, 0 yards in the first half. In today's modern NFL, that's almost impossible to do, is to throw for 0 yards in the first half. It's impossible to do. And I find it really pathetic. Like, I think as Giants fans, it's reached that point to where you're giving people like participation trophies now. Daniel Jones was making $40 million and everybody all over the TV, like Mark Sanchez was glazing Daniel Jones all day. Maybe it's because it's a quarterback thing, but like in his eyes, Daniel Jones could do no wrong. But the fact that Daniel Jones threw for 0 yards in the first half it's not even, there's no emotion anymore. Like they're finding a new way each week to break some sort of stupid record. And Jones didn't throw a touchdown pass. Like I was saying just before, Jones hasn't thrown a touchdown pass at MetLife Stadium for almost 2 seasons. So he finally throws the touchdown pass and everyone's just cheering like this is some great accomplishment. That's how low this franchise has sunk. We've sunk so low that when Daniel Jones throws a touchdown pass at home, people are just jumping for joy now. It's so sad. It's like when they take that 12th kid off the bench in a basketball game and everybody out there is just dying for him to score a point so they could all cheer for it. That's basically what it's become now. Jones is like the Make-A-Wish kid that we've all watched grow up for 6 years. He finally throws a touchdown pass at home and we're all cheering for it. I don't know. I just don't know anymore. Like I've repeated for the last 7 weeks, this team won't change. Whether you think this is a coaching problem, whether you think this is a general manager problem, whether you think this is an ownership problem, a talent problem, a scouting problem, no matter what problem you think this team has, the main problem is this quarterback. Did they play defense today? Not really. Did they get any sacks? No. But the main problem with this team is still the quarterback. Once the Giants are able to get rid of Jones, there will be a breath of fresh air for this entire fan base. They'll bring in a quarterback that we could all get behind and we could all start fresh without arguing with one another, without blaming Jones if it's his fault, without saying, look, he threw a touchdown, it's not his fault. There'll be no more blaming him anymore. We need to just rid ourselves of that because it's a black cloud over the franchise right now. No matter, and did Jones play particularly horrible in the second half? No. He made some good throws, but he's making $40 million. He has to make good throws. He leaves a lot to be desired. Like I've been saying on the field, he leaves a lot to be desired with this, with yardage on the field. Too much to be desired, honestly. Again, there was a slant somewhere in the third quarter that he was supposed to throw to Malik Nabers in stride. Malik Nabers has to reach back for the ball and stop his route. He made the catch, yes. So a 7-yard gain, which most people will probably say, oh, look, great, 7 yards. That 7 yards is a potential 70-yarder. If that ball's placed in the right spot at the right time, that ball Malik Nabers could take to the house. You got to hit a guy in stride, man. You got to hit a guy in stride. Theo Johnson caught a great seam pass there in the fourth quarter when the Giants were trying to mount some sort of a comeback, and he took it into the house for a touchdown. That was really good. They're finally starting to use Theo Johnson a lot more over the last couple weeks, which is very good. He has to learn how to catch the football more consistently. But these Philadelphia jerseys are really cute. I like these jerseys a lot. They're gross. But again, that's all I'll really say about Jones. I can't harp on him too much anymore. It's becoming old, and it's becoming consistent that this fan base just has to. We need to wake up on Sundays or Monday, or whenever the Giants play, and we need to, in the back of our heads, know that Daniel Jones is not the starting quarterback anymore. It's mentally affecting this fan base so much where we're toxic with one another, when at the end of the day, all we want is Giants football to become successful again. As long as this guy's still here, we're not going to have that, because even when they win, people are going to say, oh, Jones sucks still. It doesn't matter what happens. And when they lose, we're all here to just pile on Jones. That won't happen anymore once he's gone. I promise you that won't happen anymore. This fan base will come together the day that he's cut from this team. Still no pocket presence on the fumbles. Still no pocket presence on the fumbles. The defense was awful today. The defense was awful today. Right. Anytime the Giants mounted some sort of comeback or momentum, it was stolen back right away from the Giant defense hitting the field on the very next drive. Right? Giants start the game 3-and-out. They give the ball to Washington. They get the ball back on a fumble by Jones. Eventually, Washington scores with a short field. Giants drive the ball very nicely. They tie the game 7-7. And then right after the first Giant touchdown, bang, right away. Giant defense gave up 7. Right? And what you're going, when there's a team that's so bad for so long, you're going to see the most egregious stuff on the football field that you could ever imagine in your life. And when I say egregious, look at the last minute of the first half where the Washington Commanders are conceding 3 points on the board. It's 14-7. It's 3rd and 18. All the Giants have to do is tackle, and they're going into the half down 10. Simple stuff. But when you're a bad team, you give up 25 yards on a 6-yard play because you can't tackle. They call timeout with 11 seconds left. Now, there's no timeouts. No timeouts. So it's either the end zone, it's something out of bounds quick, because it's not going to be in the middle of the field. Deonte Banks, who has completely regressed from his rookie season, gives up the dumbest touchdown you'll see out of a cornerback or out of a first-round cornerback that you'll ever see. Never turns his head to the football. Never turns his head to the football. Complete regression out of Deonte Banks. And the Giants now go in down 14 instead of 10. When you're a team that can't score consistently, all of these points mean something. The Giants, I don't know. It's so hard now to watch. It's so hard to watch, man. It's so hard to watch. So, all in all, crappy game. All in all, crappy game. This final score wasn't indicative of how dominant Washington actually was during this game. I think next week, I'm gonna come out and say I really do think next week is the final start of Daniel Jones's career with the Giants if they lose to Carolina. So let me preface that again. If the Giants lose to the Panthers next week in Germany and fall to 2-8, I wholeheartedly believe that will be the final start of Daniel Jones's career as a New York Giant. Because they're going to go into the bye week at 2-8 after losing to the Panthers. And then at that point, you'll just have nothing to lose anymore. Play DeVito, play Locke. It just doesn't matter anymore. Don't let that injury clause bite you in the ass next season by playing him as your team is 2-8. Don't do it. I would bench him now. That's just me. I'd bench him now. I would have benched him 3 weeks ago. I think he holds the offense back. But again, one more time, I'll repeat it just so I can make myself very clear here. If the New York Giants go on to Germany and lose to the Panthers next week, I really believe that is the final start for Daniel Jones's career as a New York Giant. They'll be 2-8. They'll be going into their bye week with a couple weeks to prepare for the following game. And at that stage, the last thing you need to do is have that injury clause bite you in the you-know-what for next season. You bench him after that. You play DeVito. You play Drew Lock. Because it doesn't matter anymore after that. And any Giants fan who doesn't see that tanking is the best option for this franchise, you got to put a different pair of glasses on then, because not tanking. Well, they're not that players are trying to tank, but tanking as in terms of tanking, the reasoning the Giants don't have a quarterback now is because they didn't tank last year. So understanding tanking is just a term that we use. Players won't tank. Everybody knows that. But the Giants now because we're going into that stage now where it's either trade deadline, it's not like the baseball or the basketball deadline where like a lot of stuff happens at once and like teams change themselves on a fly at the deadline here. But if you're the Giants now, you have a couple options. You have Azeez Ojulari, you have Darius Slayton, you have, I hate to say, but you got linemen, you got Illuminor, who's played very well. You got Runyon. You have other pieces on this team that are sort of valuable that you could trade. I'm not saying completely blow it up, but I'm saying you have to look at all options. You got to look at all options. They cannot screw this up this year. They cannot screw this up this year. The Giants cannot screw up this tanking this season. They can't. They can't go 3-11 and then win 2-3 straight games and then find themselves picking a number 11. We cannot do that. This team has to lose as many games as possible. Historic type bad for this franchise to finally turn it around. As down as people are on Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, I still believe they are the right guys for the jobs. I still believe that we should let Brian Daboll make his own pick at quarterback, along with Joe Schoen. I don't think that 2.5 seasons is enough time to fix what it was a complete mess before that. Unfortunately, the Giants had a surprisingly good year in 2022. So a lot of Giants fans were ready to take the next step after that, which was advance in the playoffs, go to the Super Bowl. That was the biggest problem. And in hindsight, it was the worst thing that happened to the franchise. So now we sit here 2-7. Absolutely no reason to win games anymore. There's no reason to win games anymore. If you're going to lose, you lose. Don't half it and go in the middle. That's what happened last year. And because of that last year, now we're sitting here like this with the same crap. Giants were 2-8 last year. They won 3 straight games for no reason. In our eyes, in fans' eyes. Not because these guys do go out there, they bust their ass, they try to win games. But for us, getting to 5-8 was the worst thing possible. Worst thing possible. The only thing that was going to save this season for the Giants or the fan was beating Washington and then beating Carolina next week. Now you go into your bye week. Now you're probably like a half a game or even a game out of a playoff spot at that point. Now you start to think, okay, let's see what we could, let's have fun. Let's see if we could make this a season. But that's not the case. They lost to Washington. And if you lose to Carolina next week, it will mean so much for your draft position. Beating Carolina won't accomplish anything for next season. Again, beating Carolina won't accomplish anything for next season. Great, you beat Bryce Young. You beat Carolina 21-17. Amazing. Great, now Carolina can get their quarterback. There's a lot of teams in a lot of positions for the Giants that are going to be in their way. Here's the main problem that I'm going to tell you guys now with what's going to happen in next year's draft. Fans that say they don't want to tank are going to win their 4, 5, even 6 games next year, and they're going to be behind teams like the Titans, the Panthers, the Raiders, and other teams that are going to draft a quarterback. And then you're going to be stuck at pick number 7 or pick number 8, and you're going to wind up with a guy you don't want as a fan. Whether that's a guy that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen want is a completely different story. But you're going to be pissed off once the draft comes and all the top quarterbacks are getting picked in the top 5 and you're nowhere near it. Just like last year. Fans were actually debating whether they like J.J. McCarthy or not because they had no other choice. You don't want to not have a choice. You want to have the choice of the guy you want. Not the guy that just falls to you. This is what some fans just aren't understanding. It's not hard to understand. It's not hard to understand. If you're going to lose, lose. Don't sit here and try to pinch out games against the Carolina Panthers next week. If you're going to lose, lose. Win 2 games. Win 3. Find yourself in a great position. Now, just because you finish top 2 or top 3 in the draft doesn't mean you're getting the franchise quarterback you desire. That guy could be drafted at 15th. Most cases, the number 1 overall quarterbacks don't even work out if you look at the history of it. But at least if you're drafting top 2 or top 3, you give yourself that chance to take the guy that you desire, the guy that you scouted like crazy for 6 months, the guy that you interviewed for months and weeks and brought him into the facility. Those are the guys that you want. You saw on Hard Knocks how Brian Daboll said, if I could, I would trade up for Jaden Daniels. I would trade up for Drake May. You're seeing that pay dividends for these other franchises now. Jaden Daniels changed life in Washington. And everybody's excited, and it looks like they're all just excited. At 7-2 now, I'd be excited as well. But if you're a Washington fan right now, you're loving that draft pick. You're loving it. If you're a Bears fan, you're loving that draft pick. If you're a Patriots fan, you're loving that draft pick. You're loving the fact that you lost enough games to be in that position. Just reverse the roles of like the Giants and Patriots last year. Just reverse them. Say the Giants had the 3rd pick, right? Because they lost enough games. The Patriots would be the team this year stuck without the quarterback, wondering what the hell are we going to do? Instead, they lost plenty of games to get themselves into that position. Giants have to do that. There's no excuses anymore. They are bad enough. They are bad enough to lose these games. But again, they're doing that thing now where they're going to be competitive in a lot of these games, and that's going to help John Mara say, you know what? We might be just a quarterback away. We might just be a quarterback and X, Y, and Z away. I got the right guys in place. They're competitive. That's what's happening in these games now. Giants are staying just close enough to maybe shade John Mara's firing eyes a little bit. It could be what's happening. If that's the case, I'm fine with it. I still want Daboll and Shane back. I'm not asking for guys to get fired. I think Brian Daboll's an offensive genius. I just don't think he has the right guy running the show for him. There's nothing better in the NFL when a head coach, there's nothing better in the NFL when a coordinator / head coach and his quarterback are on the same page 100% of the time. It's nothing more. And you see it with these other teams. You see it with Mahomes and Reed. You see it sometimes with Jalen Hurts and Sirianni, even though I don't like either of them. But you see it when these guys are on the same page with one another, how beautifully an offense can run. When the coach misses something, the quarterback's there to clean it up. When the quarterback misses something, the coach is there to clean it up. It's so beautiful when it runs that way. Giants don't have that right now. Giants just don't have it. They just don't have it. And you're seeing it. But there should be no fan out there, in my opinion, that still wants to go out there and win games. I give so much kudos to, and I have such respect for anybody that continues to show up to MetLife Stadium and support the Giants by going to the games. 1, 2, by buying the concessions, by buying the merchandise, by buying the food, the drinks, continuing to go there and spending your hard-earned money. I salute you for that, but I just disagree completely. The stadium needs to be emptied out for the rest of the year. It's not a nice stadium anyway. You're not missing much. I've been there a few times. Doesn't get that loud for some reason. Maybe the way it's built. Well, also it helps when there's a good team there. It gets a little loud, but The tickets aren't cheap. The stuff that goes there is not cheap, and the product they put on the field is so bad. It's so bad. I don't understand it. I hate that we have to wait so long for the draft. I just hate that we have to wait so long for the draft, man. It's horrible. I wish we could fast forward to the combine at least. This way we could be like in the vicinity of the draft. But the Giants, they just gotta. I hate that it's 9 weeks into the year and I'm talking about the draft already. This has become so common with this team. Certain things need to happen. Certain things need to happen for this team to continue to build. They have a lot of pieces here. That's the scary part. They have a lot of foundational pieces here. And I don't even know if I can count Andrew Thomas as that. He's always hurt. Yes, he's elite. He's a top 2 left tackle in football. You could argue he's the best. But he's always hurt. Always hurt. And it's not just like little injuries. He's always out weeks, months, years. Dexter Lawrence is a foundational piece. Brian Burns is a foundational piece. That might be it. It looks like Tyrone Tracy is becoming that. He ran well again today. But they got talent. I know every team has talent, but they got guys on this team that do make a lot of good plays on a consistent basis. I'm scared for the future of this team. I'm scared for the future of this team because the job, I don't know what the job security is. Like I said 2 weeks ago, yes, John Mara came out and he said, I don't anticipate, keyword anticipate, making any changes to the coaching staff or to the general manager in season or in the off season. But when you say anticipate, you leave that door open for this thing to get very ugly for the last 10 weeks. Like really ugly. And when I say really ugly, I'm talking about Giants go to Germany next week and lose to the Panthers, come back from the bye, lose on Thanksgiving night and sort of in another Cowboy blowout, lose at home to the Colts. I'm talking about that type of ugly where the Giants see themselves at like 2-13 with a couple weeks to go in the year. I don't know, man. There's 7 games left. We wait all year for 17 games, and they're pretty much almost over. So at 2-7, they've played 9 games. They've been competitive in probably 6 of them, 7 of them, to be honest. If we're looking at that type of thing, and if you're looking at the competitive side of things, the Giants have been competitive in, yes, like 6 out of the 9 games they've played. Will John Mara look at that and will John Mara say, I do got the right guys in place. All they're telling me that they need is a quarterback. That could save Dable and Shane's job. And it should. I don't want to make these decisions after 2.5 years. I don't want to just get rid of guys after 2.5 years and have to start fresh again. I know Bill Belichick is looming out there. I know that, and he's gonna want this Giants job if it becomes available. It's just a match made in heaven, honestly. Giants will clean house. Belichick will come in and he'll just take over everything, and he'll come in with probably a top 5 draft pick. But I'd like to see this thing through. I'd like to give these guys a couple more years. Let me rephrase. I'd like to give these guys a couple more years if they're able to take their own quarterback. Because I'll tell you now, and I don't think this is going to be the case, but if somehow, some way, Daniel Jones is brought back next year and he's going into the year as the starter, I might skip games. And I've never done that before. I might skip games. I don't think it's not going to happen, but somehow that might be a time where I skip some games because that'll be a tough watch. That'll be tough to sell the fans. But if you catch me on like a, if you catch me on like a foundations being built, you'll have year, and you give me like a Cam Ward is my favorite quarterback. Cam Ward's my favorite quarterback in the draft. If you bring in Cam Ward and you tell me that this is the plan moving forward, I'm all for it. Take 2 years, take 3 years, try and develop them. Let's rock and roll. Let's see what happens. I'd even be for now, like, because I think this is the problem sometimes with a lot of quarterbacks in these leagues. They throw them to the wolves right away. I'd be all for drafting like a Cam Ward in the top 3 and then going out and getting like a veteran quarterback to start the season and have sort of a competition to the point where even the veteran is the starter for the first few weeks to sit and learn behind. Whether that's like a Jameis Winston or whether that's not Brissett, but whether that's like a Jameis Winston or somebody else, to bring somebody in, I could be sold on drafting Cam Ward 3rd overall, 2nd overall, and bringing in a veteran quarterback to possibly start the season. Just because you draft them doesn't mean you have to start them right away. I know we live in a world now where patience is lost. There's no patience anymore. I think that's what hurt Bryce Young. But maybe you bring in like an Andy Dalton next year to start the year, and once Cam Ward's ready to go, now you play him. Let him develop a little bit. Let him sit behind the veteran quarterback. Because I think you got some weapons here. You got Neighbors, you got Tracy. Now you stick in the rookie quarterback and you hit on him. It could get very special again with the New York Giants. It could get very special again. I just don't know how many years are we going to have to go through this with this team. I mean, the only positive thing about this is, yes, it's been a long 6 years, but after this season, we won't have to worry about Daniel Jones anymore. That's going to be gone. He'll be gone. We're going to have to find something new to figure out how to blame somebody. But once he's gone, we're all going to take a nice deep breath of fresh air with each other. We're going to take a nice deep breath together, and we're going to go, okay, now what? If it's going to be Shane and Dable, you better get that quarterback, and you better hit on them because their jobs will be on the line, and they'll be out quickly if this is not the guy. Then we'll go back to square one now. But I have faith in Dable to make that pick on his own, let alone Joe Shane, who had a relatively very good draft class so far in 2024. I actually have faith in Brian Dable to be able to scout and fall in love with the quarterback that he wants. I just want this team to win again. It's not asking a lot. It's not asking a lot. I'm noticing as well, not only quarterback, but the Giants are going to need some corners as well. Deonte Banks has really kind of turned out to not be as good as we thought. It could change. It could easily change. Like Deonte Banks does have ability. He showed it in his rookie season, but he is getting exposed a lot more this year than years past. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when you watch a bad product for so long, sometimes you're at a loss for words. And a lot of the times, yes, do we feel as fans like we have all the answers? Easily we do. We definitely do. But that doesn't make any of us right either. Just because, and here's another thing too, like just because you're a fan, like I'm all aboard the tank train now. I'm all aboard it. I want the Giants to lose out. I want the Giants to win 2 games, and I want them to have the top pick, and I want them to get the quarterback that they want. Not the one that they settled for, the one that they want. So we know deep down that these guys aren't the guys. I just cannot put much. I can't put much stock into a coach and a general manager. Although the general manager did extend them, I can't put that much stock into Brian Daboll as a head coach with Daniel Jones as his quarterback. It's not fair. I don't think Brian Daboll wants Daniel Jones as his quarterback. I don't. When you get to this level, it's almost as if you start questioning every single position and coach and anything else on the team. You question it all now. Do we have the right quarterback? Do we have the right running backs? Do we have the right lines? Do we have the right receivers? Do we have the right safeties? Do we have the right kicker? And that's another problem I can't stand with this team. How many kickers are getting hurt in practice around the league other than on the Giants team? Only the Giants. That's another position they're going to have to address. They're going to have to put an emphasis, obviously, on quarterback next offseason and then on special teams next season. This has been a special teams group that has been too bad for too long. And I don't want to hear it anymore with the kickers. Go out and get yourself one of those elite kickers. I know they don't become free agents or anything. But just get one. Just get an elite kicker. Get one. The Cowboys got Brandon Aubrey from the CFL. I don't know where he was, but they found him and they got him. Do the same thing. Stop going into the season with an injury-prone Graham Gano, and then when he gets hurt, you're not even prepared as a backup. You drafted this kid out of Rutgers who's like 5 inches away from missing every field goal he took today. Punting. Oh, Gillen I could do without as well. I mean, I'm going to have a full off-season video sooner rather than later, about what I would do with the Giants moving forward, about what I would do with the coaching and the quarterback. Obviously, everybody knows I hate the quarterback. I can't stand the quarterback. I think he's just a black cloud over this franchise. And when it comes to drafting one, the only way that that's going to be fixed is if the Giants control their own destiny here. And it doesn't matter what quarterback any of us like. It doesn't matter whether you like Shadir Sanders, Cam Ewers, Jackson Dart, Cam Ward. It doesn't matter which quarterback we like. The only thing that matters is who the quarterback that the Giants like. And once they pick him, hopefully he's the right guy. That's all that matters. That's where it has to start and end, obviously. But I don't know. That's it for me, guys. I can't. These are getting tougher to do. When your team's winning, everything's fun. You talk about the wins, you talk about the victories, you talk about you talk about guys who played well even though you lost, guys who played well when you won, guys who struggled when you won. It's more fun to talk about the guys that are not playing well when you're winning than the guys who are playing well when you're losing. So hopefully this team does exactly what I want them to do moving forward over the next 10 weeks, and that is lose, lose, lose. They're not going to try to lose because that would be tanking. I want them to tank. I want the season to be a 2-win, historically bad season, and I want them to be able to control their own destiny and take the quarterback that they want. I don't want any ifs, ands, or buts about anything else. I don't want to hear that, well, Giants were drafting third, so we couldn't get the two guys we wanted, so we got him. No. Lose enough games to the point where you get to pick who you want. That's it. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you if you stopped in. To the next one.